Greetings, Macadine family and listening audience. I'm Camille Shabazz of Macadine University, affirming that all is well with you and yours on this Saturday evening, February 11th, 2023. And a lot is going on in the world and on the world scene. As the title reflects or states, the subject tonight is the coming of the Son of Man. And that's actually a religious term that really isn't religious at all. They have taken something that is dealing with universal truth and they have made it some mythological story about this one person that's going to come and make the world all the way right, so to speak. When it's not talking about an individual man, it's talking about something that's within all men that's going to be ignited. And we are actually in that time in 2023 where this is going to take place and actually is going to take place right now. Is taking place. I don't know if you're aware of it, but 2 days ago, the sun went through what is referred to as not a solar flare, but a solar prominence, where a piece of the sun actually fell off. But the incredible thing about the sun's mass falling off, that this mass that did fall off actually turned into a crown. And this crown was formulating on top of the sun. It took 8 hours, and the actual formation was traveling at 60 miles per second. And I don't know if you remember me talking about the relationship of the number 8 and 6. You know, we're now in the age of the Aquarius, which is the number 8. And we left out of the age of Pisces, which is the number 6. And in this in particular solar prominence, which is like a solar flare, but like I said, a part of the sun actually fell off and became a crown. And as the old saying goes, as it is above, so is it below. We down here are the microcosm, and the heavens or the celestial bodies above our heads is the macrocosm. But we are both related. And what goes on up there is actually going on within us, whether we acknowledge it or not. I want to go into the Macadine, and once again, you got to get your copy of the Macadine, Essential Knowledge for Boys and Men, the book of the hour, that's dealing with all the essential information that a man needs to be successful in this world's life. Because you got all kinds of things coming at you, brother, starting in your own home, where disobedience and disrespect and all types of things go on in your home that takes you off the path if you're not in the mindset and focused on what it is that you got to do as a man. In this book right here, dealing with a library, which keeps you in the state of mind of positivity by writing and navigating your mind via the pen. But all that information and more is in this illuminating book. So get your copy today. It's on Amazon. And I'm going to read out of this powerful book, out of chapter 4, entitled Mind Your Own Minds. I went through this in particular chapter, part 1, the other day, and I'm going to go and read chapter 4, part 2 of Mind Your Own Minds, which begins as stating, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. The slogan for the Negro College Fund, which I believe I had brought up the other evening. It's been rightly said that the richest place on our planet is the graveyard. For within them are found the immeasurable untapped wealth that went undiscovered and unused by its now eternal occupants. Said wealth is within the minds of man. Said wealth is within the minds of man. In the 1980s, the National Research Institute revealed that the energy contained in the human brain alone could power the entire New York City for 10 years. That's every light, every train station, every electrical outlet in New York City from our brain, from our human brain alone, could power it for 10 whole years. And I don't know if you're familiar with a brother by the name of Paramahansa Yogananda, a yogi from India who wrote a book entitled The Autobiography of a Yogi. Very enlightening book. I once studied under that brother many years ago, and although he's a religious man, he taught a lot in the way of meditation and the powers of the human being. And he had mentioned in that book that scientists had discovered that just 1 gram of human flesh, just 1 gram, had within it the power to actually run Chicago for 3 whole days, just like the brain could run New York City for 10 years. But 1 gram of our flesh had enough atomic power in it to run the entire Chicago for 3 whole days. So it's just letting you know how powerful we are as beings. Let me go on. The brain is not the mind, though. To the superstitious mystics of the East, because of its wandering tendencies, they referred to the mind as a drunken monkey. Due to its subtle and sublime nature, the minds and brains receive at least 60 to 80,000 undetected thoughts a day. They're actually other people's thoughts and feelings. The saying, "the devil made me do it," may have some truth to it after all. But, as was just said, it's the thoughts and feelings of other people and not some spooky demon. Said thoughts and feelings stem from average as well as profound and scientific people of both good and bad intentions. Those thoughts and feelings are the ones that at times have us asking the questions, what made me say or do that? Our brains are filters and receivers as well as a sending station for thought. It temporarily houses our minds. Our thought and act frequencies activate, deactivate, or causes our minds to become our friends or enemies. Let me read that again. Our thought and act frequencies activate, deactivate, or causes our minds to become our friends or enemies. Going back to that man in the mirror who is either our best friend or our worst enemy. The choice is ours. The human being possesses 5 minds that are known. There's probably more than that. The conscious mind, the subconscious mind, the superconscious mind, the reactive mind, and the preconscious mind. Very little, mainly nothing, is said about the preconscious mind. The mind that's on the outskirts of the conscious mind. Do you notice that? Nowhere in our textbooks in high school or even in college is there any mention or very little mention of the preconscious mind. The preconscious mind is a major source of other people's thoughts and emotions that bombard the minds and brains within our interior world. Because most minds in the world are unlocked and unguarded, mental burglaries and invasions are occurring all day, every day to most human beings unaware. What diamond and gold mine do you know that doesn't have security? Yet the most valuable mind and vault in the universes, the human mind, are left wide open for any thief to enter, rob, or dump their garbage into. The stone, the protector, that is the conscious mind of man, has been removed from the mouth of the human cave, meaning the head / medulla oblongata, because man's guards, his conscious awareness and proactivity, have fallen to sleep. It's vitally important to guard one's mind from negativity and to fortify and surround it with positivity, positive people, self-love, and praise. And let me tell you, man, that right there is not an easy thing to do, and it takes persistence. It really takes persistence and staying in a state of positivity and surrounding yourself with positive people. Because within your own family, you find the negativity that you're trying to fight against. And you have to be even more on top of the game when you're in that type of situation. You got to keep yourself independently and proactively in a state of positive self-talk and self-fuel. You have to fuel yourself with your own words and, once again, the pen to stay balanced and in a positive state of mind. These acts, along with the livery, proper foods, herbs, exercise, etc., aligns and allies one with their minds and eventually their minds' powers. Our minds are our servants. Once again, our minds are our servants, designed to do our bidding and assist us to infinite heights. Tell the mind what you want and what you want them to do. That goes for everything else in creation as well. And don't get frustrated because they don't do what you command right away. Remember, they're asleep. Keep shaking them until they awaken. The preconscious mind, along with the reactive mind, are influenced by others outside of the self. Especially that phone, man. That phone who most of us are paired with. We sleep next to it. You sleep with it under your pillow, in your bed, not realizing that these are weapons of warfare that's designed to go inside of your being and to control you. The reactive mind is full of the thoughts, words, programming, and errors incurred mainly via parents and environment during womb and or unconscious experience. For example, while under an anesthetic or knocked out, etc. These minds are sources of much trouble for men, but through the practice of the techniques and formulas that we discuss in the Macadine and we teach in the Macadine, they can be guided back into their original purpose and function as allies. Because the design of the school system, the educational, and the religious system is designed to make our minds our enemies. This is why you have so much bipolarism and so-called schizophrenia. It's because the mind has been pimped out, so to speak, and raped and robbed and actually possessed by the thoughts, ideas, and the spirits of other people. There's no romantic and financial power without mind power. Once again, there is no true romantic and or financial power without mind power. This is why Mount Elgon in Kenya, Africa, is a place of interest to us. I know a lot of you haven't even heard of Mount Elgon before, but Mount Elgon is a place where certain people, for example, Carl Jung, the great psychoanalyst who was the student of Sigmund Freud, and even Prince Charles went to Mount Elgon for self-awareness, revitalization, and inspiration to pursue their life's purpose. It was a place where hidden information like Kemet, where men had secret information to help a brother come into the realization of who they are and what their purpose in life is. But in reality, there's no need to go on any outside pilgrimage anywhere for empowering self-knowledge and influence. All of what a man needs, what you need, what I need, is already within himself, awaiting and in need of acceleration. Now back to the preconscious mind, that mind that's on the outskirts of ourselves. The conscious mind is like a day guard of the inner perimeter of the Fort Knox, so to speak. Right outside of the conscious mind's post is the preconscious arena. When the conscious mind clocks out or goes to sleep, the preconscious mind and the other four minds are just minimally functioning without any instructions or tasks from their commanding officer. That's you and I. What are we commanding our minds to do before we go to sleep? As I teach in the Macadine, before you go to sleep, we're to program ourselves through the pen and to direct our minds to do and think certain things while we're sleeping. Just like you can train yourself to wake up at a certain hour each day without an alarm clock, you can program your mind to think the thoughts and to feel the emotions that you want them to feel and think. In addition to their natural innate responsibilities, said minds are to be missioned for the causes of their designated general. That's you and I. We're the general of ourselves. Since, for the most part, this is not being done, enemies and aliens unaware are ruling the minds and lives of most people who are deceived into believing they are free, sane, independent, etc. One said enemy and alien is the lie called God. I'm going to say that again. One said enemy and alien is the lie called God. Said lie is a slow killer of the minds and brains of man. It turns off man's creational nature and power and turns him into a wishing, hoping, and praying idiot. Yoga and meditation are weaker stepping stones for the most part to mind empowerment and activation because they're passive and submissive in nature and opens one up once again to the invasion from other minds. Laya Yoga, which is the meditation of the higher self or the chief chakra, known as the crown chakra, is about the only yoga of some interest to us. Because we're in a day and time where the chief chakra, the crown chakra, the brain, the mind is to be opened up. And that's where our main focus should be at. Minding your own minds. What happened with the sun is a sign of that. That sun actually crowned itself because this is the time in which we're living in, where it's time for man to take his crown back. That's why we have 46 chapters in this book, because in Chaldean numerology, 46 represents the crown. This book is designed to give man his crown back. Coronavirus, the whole corona episode was designed because corona means crown. That whole 2-year history, which is still going on right now in the minds of men, was designed to take your crown away from you. And the Macadine is designed just to do the opposite, because in 2020, that's when the Macadine touched down. Let me continue. In the Macadine, gods are the forces and energies within and without of self. For example, electricity, gravity, Allahs, Jehovah's, etc., all of whom are our subjects. What you call Allah and Jehovah like electricity and gravity, are your servants, because number one, Allah and Jehovah are nothing but mental creations. God was created by man in his fallacious mindset. When he was falling down and out of his mind, he created God, not realizing that you and I are the God. So, active imagination is the technique used by the sovereign God, which stands for God over gods. That's who all of us are. We're gods over gods, over all the forces, all the animals, the fish. As they say, every living and breathing thing, man is over. This is a known fact. It's demonstrated every day. So active imagination is active integration and live correspondence with the now and dormant minds, brains, chakras, energies, forces, knowledge, and wisdom that's already inside of man. Coupled with a library, meaning your own book, which I've been talking about. Writing your own book and corresponding with yourself through I am statements on a regular basis. Because everything that I am precedes. When you write it down, that's who, in fact, you are. If you write down, I am a punk, that's what you are. And that's what registers in your subconscious mind. So whatever you follow, I am, or follow after I am, that is what you are. So be careful what you say. Watch your mouth. Because as the book says, out of the mouth is the power of life and death. What you speak, you definitely bring into existence. That's why in the word mouth, in the middle of mouth, you have out. Because what you put out, you're going to bring back in. Coupled with a library, proper herbs, medicines, and knowledge, absent superstition and religion, the minds and powers of man can be fully awakened. This is why it's of paramount importance to mind your own minds. Minding other people's business and gossiping should be a crime, which it is actually in universal law. In universal law, gossiping and minding other people's business is actually a crime. Because with all the work that there is to do with self, to go outside of said work, to waste precious time on such nonsense is on all levels criminal. So mind your own minds, and please recognize the time in which we live, and make it a point to familiarize yourself with yourself and to take time out, solitude. When you look at the word solitude, the first 3 letters is soul, which is Latin for sun. Because when you go by yourself and you take in, you know what I'm saying? Take in your own self, so to speak. Relish in yourself, your thoughts, your ideas. In time, you will generate a power and an energy that in turn and in time will be of use to yourself. Because spreading yourself out thin, telling the world you love them and going to this meeting and that meeting and being with this person and that person only takes you away from the self and your power and turns you into what they call an elf in physics, which stands for extremely low frequency, or what they call in slang, spreading yourself thin. You don't want to do that. You want to spread yourself thick. Be yourself. Love yourself. And just realize that the Son of Man is yourself, and that the Son is within yourself. And it's time for you to coronate yourself and put your crown back on. Because whether you like it or not, that's the day we're living in. And you're either going to be a king or you're going to be a servant. And I think the wise decision would be to choose the former, which is to be a king. Thank you for listening. And I'll be speaking to you again. And I'm hoping that you got something out of this message. Salute and peace.